Muted. I don't know what you mean. I'm not muted. You all need to turn your volume up. That's what you need to do. No, absolutely. As you can see, I've moved my studio around behind me, and of course there was technical issues. So there we are. Now I'm actually a little bit. I don't want to say I'm embarrassed, but let's just say that I completely forgot that it was Halloween today. I was like, as I was looking at the comments, I'm like, well, we've got quite a few people here. It's quite nice, and but Halloween's not really. It's not celebrated in South Africa. It's not celebrated in Japan much. And the UK, it's not really celebrated either. So it's very much a US thing. And of course, it's too early for Halloween. It's still daylight in the US. Anyway, we've got a special guest joining us tonight. I know very little about him because, like I said, I mixed up the time zones thanks to the US only changing time zones tonight. The UK changed time zones last week. I haven't yet changed time zones, so that's who knows how long that's going to be. Anyway, let's bring him into the show. It's Travis. It's not Travis. It's Travis's hand. So there we go. That's sort of Halloween. It's like Thing, isn't it? It's like just this hand in the bottom corner. Give me a second here, folks. I'm going to go back to my face so you don't see me doing this around. Just bear with me. Bear with me. It's been a long day, long, fantastic day. We'll get Travis in here as soon as we can. Trust me. Where is he? Where is he? Give me a second. Yes. Okay, good. And, you know, it wouldn't be a show like, well, it just wouldn't be a show if we didn't have these sort of technical issues, eh? I mean, that's part and parcel of it. So I hope you've all been having a great day. I've had a wonderful day today, actually. It's been absolutely brilliant. Right, I think that'll work. I think that'll work. So let's do that. Let's try that again. And yes, hello, Travis.
It's the hand as advertised.
The hand as advertised. I like that. So there we go. And you, they can hopefully hear you. Yes. Right. Good. It's tech, says Lance Pickett. We're used to it. Of course. Absolutely. You're used to it. So, Lance, thank you for joining us on the show tonight. And it's good to finally meet you.
Oh, yeah.
There we go. Right, so Lance, you guys, and just to refresh you folks, so we're going to be doing all sorts of stuff tonight, but to refresh you guys watching this, so I just called Travis Lance. That's why you didn't respond.
Yes. Yeah. No, like that's why I thought you were talking to someone in chat.
Exactly.
And so, that's why I was like, oh yeah,
I'm waiting for you. Yes. Okay. So
yes,
this is what happens when I do heavy lifting throughout the day. Eric Keyhem level 2 says Dark World Studios. The name is pretty fantastic. So yeah. There we go. All right. So yes. Okay. So Travis / Lance, because you could be a Lance. Yeah. But probably not. Or Trackvis, says Jacques in track. No, I don't think so. Nice try. So for those of you that don't know, Travis is from Dark World Studios and has run a successfully funded Kickstarter. Now, I do have a cutaway set. I would set up some things right, okay, he said, and then realized that it has a filter on it, so it's still looking weird. Right. Yes, let's just remove that. There we go. See, it does look right. So successfully funded. You must be happy about that.
Yeah, no, like this last week has been very stressful. We went from like 60% to all the way funded like this whole week. So I am just glad that we have a lot of momentum behind us now and we are finally successful. So now we can start actually doing the bulk of the work that we have ahead of us. We have to play test everything with new people and not just our own group. And now because some of our reward tiers, people can collaborate with us, either make like a monster or a new faction or something of that nature. So we're really excited to work with those people who've already donated to that tier.
Absolutely. Now, we've still got 36 hours to go, so you never know what's going to happen. They do say that the last sort of 48 hours are the critical ones. So for folks that don't know, now I spoke about this on my main show before, so you've all seen this. We'll be going to your questions soon, audience. So don't you worry, all you viewers. something that I spoke about setting, and it's this really cool kind of sort of very noir kind of setting, but you've used the 5th edition base set in terms of strength and con and dex and that sort of thing.
Yeah.
Why did you guys decide to make this as a Kickstarter?
Well, so we've been working on it for like a few years now. I started working like on the base aspects of it 7 years ago, where my friends wanted to play something new, and I, as a very arrogant DM, thought I could write a whole kind of system quickly, so we could have like all of those little custom house rules that we wanted. And as you can see now, it has gone out of control. It has completely gone off the rocker and is now infesting the nightmares of 300 people thus far. So
well, that's
hopefully we can keep this going and share our wonderful nightmare with the rest of the world.
There we go. All right. And it the kinds of games that you would expect people to be able to play with the setting. A brief overview. What are you sort of seeing? Is it?
So basically, we are from any Lovecraft story, obviously, to any classic horror films of the 1920s and 30s. Maybe even before then, like Nosferatu and stuff like that can be like sort of like inspiration upon. And also we have a very historical aspect in our world where history is being concealed. Very George Orwellian kind of nightmare. So there is also stories that you can rise up against the government or be one of those government agents who is trying to cover up things or kill monsters so the rest of the world doesn't have to know that these kind of abominations exist in the world.
Okay. Yeah. All right. I think that's super cool. I think that's really cool. Now, you've rewritten virtually everything. You've had to include firearms and quite a nice sort of selection of firearms as well. Okay. So and I love the art that you guys have chosen so far. Is this sort of demonstrative art, or are you getting artists to come in and really work over stuff? How far are you on that?
So we have quite a few artists that have been lovely to work with. And they've basically been able, we just give them a very, basically a lot of style notes on how we want the architecture to look and how we want like the general vibe of the world to look. And then we see what they run with. Like if you scroll back up there, like that is one of our soul menders. We don't like the rules are not currently featured in our beta, but they will come out very soon as we start actually releasing our live beta that all the backers of our Kickstarter can look through and kind of help us playtest. We will also have a free version like the one that you're scrolling through right now that is available to anyone. But we basically just said like we need an automaton who looks like he was really industrial, and this is our inspirations for it. And Charlotte from the UK really let us, made that wonderful piece of art right there.
Yeah, absolutely. Okay, so we've got a question here, and then we'll turn away from this for a little bit and kind of go back to the main show. So Eric him level 2 says, do the players generally play the abominations or the human plus non-humans involved in this sort of supernatural world?
So yes and no. Basically, there is, let me explain. So our like major core mechanic is when you look at other RPGs, like let's say like D&D and Pathfinder for like a paladin.
Right.
You know, like the higher you get in levels, you become a more virtuous person, essentially. Like mechanically, you get more powers for good and stuff like this. If you want to survive in Acheron for later levels, you're either going to have to be incredibly lucky or start becoming an abomination, essentially. There is a lot of abilities and there's a lot of mutations, and you can we have a low health system, so like the average person will have 6 hit points and a 9mm does a d10 worth of damage, so it's very easy to die. But to make the game more interesting without having you re-rolling characters constantly is you can choose to negate damage by taking a permanent flaw. So you were shot with a gun and now you lost a limb or something of that nature. Now you can replace it with Soulmender parts to basically keep going. But eventually you have to decide when you want your character to die. That's pretty much your decision as a player. So you will become more monstrous the longer you let your character keep surviving, like the horrible things that they're going through. So the answer is yes and no.
You become the abomination. I love that. I absolutely enjoy that. So yeah, I mean, I think this is a lot of fun. So you can get the Kickstarter, folks. Go and find the Kickstarter. Let me just bring that up here, and you look for Dark World Studios. Otherwise, I suppose fine. I will do it. Happy Halloween to you, Rose Heartfire. So I've dropped the link in chat for the Kickstarter. Go and have a look at that. I'd like to see those numbers going up. Still 36 hours to go. Now, the dice that you guys have got going, let me just show that. Is that a separate set of dice that you guys have commissioned, or did you find them and are like, those are cool, those fit?
No, these are our custom dice that we've commissioned. The dice here are going to be our Kickstarter dice.
Okay.
So if you want to get them, you have to get them through any of our Kickstarters. So we are planning on launching future projects, but if you want them, like within like the year, not the year, but within a year from now, you're going to have to order them now.
Okay. And that's beautiful Art Deco design. That's lovely. That sort of period. Is that a favorite time period of yours? The Art Deco, almost Art Nouveau, Art Deco period. Is that?
Yes, I absolutely love like that kind of era in architecture and in just like style in general.
Right.
As you can see from like the game itself, what we've presented is very Art Deco. Also a lot of brutalist kind of structures. So we have like a good mixture of both of those. And that's basically the flavor we want the world to have.
Lovely.
You know?
Now, if you're watching this and you're going Art Nouveau, Art Deco, brutalism, what the hell is that? Get yourself some education, right? Because those are all artistic periods that we've gone through. Personally, brutalism I absolutely hate. But that's me personally, and it's still a very interesting period in our architectural history. Art Deco, I think is great. Love Art Deco. The building I live in is an Art Deco building, built in the 1930s. British Art Deco, and we still have the original doors, which is fantastic. But that has nothing to do with anything. So we're going to move forward, chaps. This is Live Sessions with GMs. Travis, you've been a GM for quite a while now. How long? 3 weeks.
Oh no. No, I just realized I've been DMing for like 8 years now.
There we go, 8 years. And a variety of systems, or pretty much the same sort of systems?
I started with Pathfinder.
There we go. Dead Aussie Gamer will be happy about that in chat, yeah?
Yeah, I started with Pathfinder. after like I only played in 2 games, the DM left, so then I've been DMing ever since. And we've done D&D 5th edition. We also have done Call of Cthulhu, Shadowrun, and a plethora of other systems. Oh, GURPS, of course, GURPS.
Okay. There we go. There we go. Fantastic. Okay, so the way the show works is that people, hopefully, watching the show will ask us their D&D questions, or, well, their role-playing questions, RPG questions, like there's one that's just coming right now. And we're going to try and answer them as best we can. And we'll talk a bit more about the Kickstarter as the show develops. And then now, normally what we do is we... Semi-crit fiddle, we're going to fight over that comment. I'll come back to that one. Normally we do a little bit of a creative writing exercise at the end as well. So we'll come to that. Okay, so White Tiger 225 has a question. Now, if you are asking the questions, please put the word question in caps so that I can see it. That would be brilliant. Also, what do you guys think of the new studio layout? Because I just spent most of the morning and this evening relaying out everything. And I know this one doesn't have its lights on yet because the cable doesn't run from this one to that one. But anyway, give me your feedback. I absolutely adore it, love it. Had someone rather new in my life helping me move all of those things around. So White Tiger's question is: my players are going to the emperor of my Japanese-inspired nation. They will enter his palace as a party of 6 level 11s. Okay, it's getting a bit technical here. One of them is a wanted rebel leader who is against the emperor in disguise. On a scale of 1 to doomed, how doomed are they if someone sees past the disguise? So what I think this question is I'm going to rephrase it for you, White Tiger 225, is we potentially have a situation where, from a narrative, if the emperor knows that they're a rebel trying to get rid of the emperor and they find them in their midst, narratively speaking, the outcome would be execution, right? I mean, that would make sense. Travis, what would you suggest here in this situation? So the players are stupidly going in brazenly. They obviously think that they can't be hurt. Or what would you think?
Well, I also think I agree with you. Execution is like the biggest option, but if like it does go sour and they do get captured or what have you, you can have like some sort of escape kind of deal from prison, because obviously he wants it to be a public execution, so that it's a warning to all other rebels.
Like you're thinking.
So basically, I think that would be like a cool way to do that. Or maybe if they completely botch the whole thing, you can have like they're about to be executed and then have like the Robin Hood shoot an arrow, cut the rope kind of deal, and then they have a new ally for the rest of the game.
I like both of those options. Another option which you could do, and again, this depends on the party. So yes, the execution, it will never be immediate. Absolutely right. It is, now we will throw you into our dungeon where there's only one guard who's rather careless with the keys, and wait until the morning for your execution. Something like that, right? So absolutely. An alternative, if your players are more interested in dynamics and in politics, it could also be that, you know, they walk past the courtier or the major domo of the palace, and he recognizes the rebel, and then he approaches the rebel and says in secret, I know who you are. Now, if you want to survive, you're going to assassinate the emperor on my behalf, or I'll just tell him who you are and you're going to die. And so what that does is it twists the whole thing around, and now instead of them getting an ally, as Travis suggested, which I think is brilliant, they now have a new enemy who has a major hold over them, and there's this giant threat. And so you've ratcheted up the political machinations that are now going on with the court. So there's those kind of things that you could look at. So I think that's that. Okay. There we go. Rose Heartfire says, love it, like the LEDs. Thank you. There'll be a bit more LEDs later on. I just need to run that. Xander the Green says, question, my players finally escaped Avernus and wound up in Shadowfell. Any tips for running a political game in a Gothic Elizabethan city of drow and other dark races for 13th level PCs? Why are you guys asking me about the levels? I don't know what a level 13 character in Dungeons and Dragons can do, apart from probably avoid everything. But yes, okay, all right. So put that aside. I've never played in the Shadowfell. Have you played in the Shadowfell?
I haven't played in it, but I have read a bit on it, and drow are one of my favorite races across like the fantasy aspect. So
okay, I like that. I've played in Avernus, which is devils and demons and all that kind of stuff. So that's okay. The Shadowfell. So is that Elizabethan Gothic?
I think they're just like alluding to like the actual like cities themselves, because like it's just like a bad place to be. It's just literally just Shadowfell. Like it's in the name. There's shadows everywhere. Everyone's backstabbing.
Right.
So, I mean, like it, like literally, like a drow city is if you can, like, kill your political opponent without anyone finding out, then you've done a good job. Like that's a good thing to do. Like in that kind of society.
Right. So that immediately suggests to me, as someone who doesn't know anything about the Shadowfell, and my drow, I love the drow as well, but my drow and my games have never been the drow of D&D. My drow are Romans, using the Roman Senate as its political arena. So they're still politically crafty, but they're not all immediately lawful evil, and they're not all immediately worshipping Lolith or Lilith or whatever her name was. But yes, okay. So, if you've got players entering into the Shadowfell as an evil politician drow, I'm seeing a potential for here are a bunch of strangers who everyone's going to suspect anyway because they're different, they're foreigners. So maybe I can hire them to take out my rival and just disguise it as random, oh, look, evil interlopers have killed this person. Would you have a different angle on that? Because they're asking about how to make it political.
Well, definitely, like, drow are, horribly racist and want to enslave, like, pretty much anything. So, I mean, obviously, because like they're level 13 or what have you, they're gonna survive like the first initial ambushes, or you can have like they survive the initial ambush and the drow that was gonna ambush the ambush that was ambushing you, because it's all just so backstabby.
Yes.
Basically, I mean, kind of sees that you guys are a wild card that can play to his advantage or her advantage. And a cool plot in general is that basically a thing that is a little bit more powerful than just assassination is disgracing religious relics that you guys don't have like the superstition behind. Like he just goes, hey, could you just destroy that statue out there in the woods? It's not... It's going to be okay. That's like people are scared of it because they're wrong, but you don't have to be. And that can release something awful that's worse than the drow or something of that nature, or maybe something good. Like,
I do like that. So I would, listening to what you're saying, I think that's great. So I would set it up like this. So they come under ambush, right? Mm-hmm. And it's a big battle, and you also want the players to respect the drow as a potential enemy. So you don't want to make the mistake of throwing something against them that really just doesn't cause them to kind of go, whoa, okay, we're in a dangerous space, I think, anyway. So I would throw something against them that is improbably powerful to the point that the players are going, we can't beat this. And then you have another group coming in and helping save the party by helping them fight this monster. And then the real drow steps forward and says, well, I sent my troops in the moment I saw you in trouble. Meanwhile, that is the individual who sent the first wave against them to then come and save them. So he's their friend. And now he says, well, look, my troops were decimated by protecting you. There's this statue that they were going to go and destroy, but they can't now. It's old. It's a menace to society. You go and destroy it. So you build it because you want. That's the whole thing about politics is everybody wants to be your friend, but none of them are in actual truth. So I think to play around that. Try and look at that. Right. So Jeff Williams says tomorrow I'm about to kill some NPCs using the big bad. How long should I let them mourn in game before I bring in humor to lighten the mood?
Well, like they sound from that question already like pretty significant. Like
yes, it sounds
NPCs.
Like they're invested. Yes.
But like it mostly depends in like my head of like, are they in a safe place?
Right.
Like if the big bad is murdering them, or is it like he just shows up, stabs them and goes, ha ha, and then dives into the nearest bush and then is no longer able to be seen.
My God, he disappeared into this bush. He's completely vanished. How did he do that? He's 6 foot tall. Yes, shrubberies. Yes, sorry.
No, but like basically I would probably, I mean, it's more of just like a feeling as a DM, like what you want, like where you think that it's like okay, because like if your characters, it's like one of your characters' dad is the NPC and he dies, like that character is going to be mourning for weeks, like on end. And if that was like a father figure to the whole party, then that's like a pretty like significant it's a pretty significant like emotional beat that you're trying to capture. So I wouldn't be too quick on the thing unless he's like dying and he parts with a joke, so it's a bittersweet kind of note to leave on.
Absolutely. I think you've hit right onto the point that I think if the NPCs are just randomly dying, I think you've disenfranchised yourself as the GM on using that situation to its maximum effect. So assumedly they're invested into the NPCs. You want it to have meaning and impact. So again, exactly what Travis said. If the one NPC was a mentor figure and the monster, the big bad, hits them and does, maximum damage, yes, in theory, they should be dead straight away, but they should always have enough of a last breath to say something to the PCs, but then still die. And don't be worried about the PCs going, oh, well, I cast, healing on it, because if he can still talk, he's still got hit points, right? You're like, no, with his dying breath, control that situation. So there is that. But if they die in a way that is meaningful, so they sacrifice themselves to step in the front of the lightning bolt or whatever. I mean, not that D&D allows for those mechanics, but you get my point. If it's truly tragic, don't lighten the mood until you've changed the scene. So and by scene I mean that entire encounter. So the big bad escapes somehow, however you've got that happening. Be aware your players are going to try and stop the big bad from doing that if they have any kind of free agency whatsoever. Let the death happen, let them react to it, let them experience it, and then say, and the night is cold and just a little bit more lonely than it was the night before. Then have the sunrise, you set out from camp, your heart's heavy, you come across a farmer and he says, why the long face? Oh, you're not horses. Whatever. I mean, I don't know. I mean, bad joke, right? So then you break it. So give them time. Don't rush it. And if it's sad, let it be sad. Take that moment. So, but also be aware, and this is a lesson that I learned on the live game, as a matter of fact, was I had 2 NPCs kill themselves because of what a PC said to them, which was very dark, and the player was distraught, absolutely distraught, but it was the only option. It was the only outcome for that narrative. And it was a beautifully sad moment. But there was no grounds for making a joke after that. It was absolutely dark. Trust your players to want to have that experience. That's the other thing, is because your players might go, no, that's I don't want death. I don't want to have that emotional reaction. They might get frustrated. I have had players who've just stood up and gone, I'm not happy with this, I'm leaving. And you go, well, okay, I overstepped the mark. Don't go, well, no, they're not dead, because you've made the call, you've done it. Don't retro. Anyway, that's sort of answering a different question. Anyway, so let's move forward. Yeah, so basically, Jeff, read them and take from that. The Ganondorf 96 says, do you have any advice on how to conclude campaigns? Do you have any quick advice, Travis?
I am notoriously awful at ending campaigns. Usually I'm a big slave to dice rolls when it comes to DMing. I don't usually fudge them at all. Usually whatever happens because I like that aspect, even if it disrupts a story beat I have, which is it's not the best, but it has led to very interesting stories. But notoriously I've accidentally TPK'd a few parties, and that's how long campaigns over a year ended, and I was not ready for it at all. So the ball's in your part.
Just proving that on this channel we invite all kinds of people onto the show. We don't judge them for being dice masters, which is fantastic, as long as everyone had fun and they're still coming back to play. That's the important thing. My advice on how to finish campaigns is a little book I wrote called How to Finish Campaigns. No, actually, it's just one chapter. No, so I'm doing this for comedic effect. Don't buy the book. I mean, it's brilliant, but wait, who said that? I don't know who said that. No, so in the book, and there are videos that you can watch on the channel as well, so I don't want to go into it too far, but there are a couple of ways of finishing a campaign. There is the TPK due to dice. I would rather stab myself in the face than go that route. That's my opinion. Travis would probably kill himself if he was playing on one of my games, because he'd be like, "But the dice are doing this, and you're just fudging it all. What are you doing, you stupid man?" I'm like, "I'm not." Anyway, so but different play styles. In my situation, you conclude your campaign. It's got to be I talk about the different C's. It has to be climatic. So don't go, okay, and then you guys all sort of go to the tavern and right, okay, so thanks, that's the end of the campaign. Is he like, wait, what? Where's the climax? Where's the big finale? And I think that a lot of people kind of have that, and then they don't actually then say, and done. And I must admit, for me, having run short campaigns of like, for when I did Ghost of Saltmarsh and when I did Descent into Avernus, it's 12 episodes, and you have to end on that last episode. You have to finish. I think sometimes we tend to finish and then keep going because we're still playing for another 2 hours, and that's fatal, because then you're ending off on this sort of, we sit around and we tell tales for a while, and no, I think that's wrong. So I generally try and make it a climax. I try and wrap up as much of the different stories as I can. Like I said, there is a video on it, how to finish your campaign, and then there's a whole chapter in this book on things that you can do to bring things in and sort of try and wrap them up as neatly as you can. Okay, how are we doing for time? We're still good. Okay, so Vidrajin says, any tips on voicing a telepathic giant octopus versus, I'm thinking here, Yuan Ti versus Sahaugen on voicing? So what would they sound like? I like voicing most NPCs, monsters in my game, but these seem weirdly challenging. Do you do voices?
I do a lot of voices in my
Oh.
games. The if you can manage it, talk while breathing in does a lot of weird.
Oh yes, the demon voice.
Yeah, I am the demon.
There you go.
Or,
There we go. Absolutely. Beware though with that one. You can hurt your voice, so don't do it if you haven't
yeah.
practiced for a while. Yeah.
No, like if you haven't practiced, but also if it's a telepathic squid, like just keep it to very short sentences, like one word kind of responses to the party, because it is an ancient beast. I suppose, like if it is a traditional kraken, or if you want an epic telepathic monster, it should have like whatever voice that you can make, like guttural or breathing in, or like you're just going to have to practice this in the mirror and
Yes.
hope that your voice doesn't wear out, but like keep it very simple, the players are like, what should we do, and it just goes fight, like.
I like that. I do like that. I like to sometimes, if I mean, whether it's online or whether it's around a table, the octopi, I think they should sound wet. So I
Yeah,
completely agree. I mean, there's no right answer here. It's we're just giving
yeah.
you options here. So I would get a lot of saliva in my mouth, as gross as that sounds,
Mm.
and then possibly even sort of use your fingers as like these tentacles. And if the players say something wrong, have them sort of, you question me, and you sort of use them as a flare, and then when it
Mhm.
relaxes, so it's almost like body language that you're using. So you could do that. Um, Snake folk. There's always the decision of sibilances and s's, of course. Do you have a different take on it?
No, like all the a lot of the lizard folk that I do is like the emphasis on the S syllable, because that's a
Yes.
classic.
Right.
But
It's expected. Yeah.
but like a thing that I really liked from a book that like a GM book that I read a while back is you have to like they have snakes and lizard folk have like a cold blooded logic to them,
Yes.
where they have like they're very just like animalistic based like priorities, like on the pyramid of needs.
Yes.
They're only worried about like the top.
Right.
So like basically another thing that you might want to do is change. Oh my gosh, took linguistics for so long and I can't remember the term for it. Just I like the idea of keeping everything, that they don't refer to themselves as a we, but only as an individual, because they lack empathy.
Ah.
And so you, when they're describing past events, you can just be like, they only describe it from their point of view, not like, and then our town was under siege, and it was like, no, I was in town, and fire was everywhere, and I escaped.
Right.
you know.
Right. I love that. I think that's absolutely spot on in terms of changing the dialogue. So the accent is important, because even if you can't do accents, or you can't play around with your voice, or you don't like to do it, it's embarrassing, or it's whatever it is. Yes, changing the mindset and going, okay, so the giant octopi is ancient, so it's one word or it's two words. The snake folk, it's I did this, I did that. And I also think that it's important to, as you say, they're cold-blooded theoretically. Depends on your world, of course, but to as you say, they only have that particular one need, and so you can be very cold about it and very, dispassionate. I must, or I insist you kill all of the children. They are slowing us down, or they're slowing me down. So it takes a little bit of a mind shift. I like that. I like that. Okay, let's move on, because I think we've done a lot on that one, and I think that was really great. Right, so Rose Heartfire says, my issue is how many magical items my players should be able to get their hands on that they can have fun with, but not to the point that it's game breaking. What is your approach?
I love monkey paws. Like I like something that has and like it sounds great, but has a drawback. Like in our system itself, we don't have we have like if you know magic, you can make magical items that like they're temporary.
Yes.
We have a thing in our beta called Malcav's Eye,
Lovely.
and it's where you sacrifice hit points for initiative.
Hit points
Stuff
for
like
initiative. I want to
Yeah.
go first, so I will exert myself. Sort
Yeah.
of. Okay.
So
He's talking about
you
this
can
Kickstarter, by the way.
do
Keep going.
but like because you're in a drow society, you can have very double-edged swords of magical items. Like you can if it's a high fantasy campaign and there's magical items, just like, oh, we found an amulet in a tree. And this is the 7th time this week, which I don't recommend, but if you have that level, you can have a lot of different items that are detrimental or sound great, like um, an endless rope, but it uses like the hair of the players as it extends. And then once you guys run out of hair, it then uses skin or something just as awful.
Oh my goodness! I like your mind. Yes. Okay. It's like, oh, it's a 100-foot drop. Don't worry, I got the rope. As long as you got hair. And it's like, you're now going bald. The dwarf is going bald, and oh, my skin is being pulled. I love it. Oh, that's dark. Oh, you are a good GM. I do like that. Okay. I think that's really cool, and I also think that it's good that it is functional, so the players don't feel like they're being punished up to a point. I think that's a very smart way of capping magical items from being too powerful. It's like, well, it's powerful, go ahead, but 1,000 orphans will die. Yes, okay, I think that's great advice. Absolutely, absolutely great advice. Right, so where are we? If I've missed your question, please ask it again. We will do creative writing at 1:45, so in 2 minutes or so. Gives us time for another question. Josu Ramirez says, my players are facing an evil noble family that made a deal with the Afriti, the fire djinn. How do I roleplay the evil noble? I'm having trouble. Oh, apparently you've got a trend here, Travis. I'm having trouble voicing an evil noble personality.
Okay, so this is a cool idea that I got off the top of my head. Well, it might be cool, it might be gibberish. But because they have already made an alliance with like another supernatural like race of people,
Yes.
you could, and like the jinn are like, genies and stuff like that. You can have the leader of the faction have a physical thing that shows that he paid the price of that agreement. So his skin is charred on one side, or there's something like he has some supernatural aura about him. And then you just basically almost trick your players with that physical augmentation when you voice him. So like you hunch up because now his like one arm is shriveled.
Right.
And he looked like he used to be a powerful lord, but now he's like a hollow husk of what he used to be. And he just has a feeble voice, even though every time he speaks, everyone flinches
Okay.
in the courtroom.
Nice.
To show that he was horribly dangerous at one point.
Absolutely love it. And so I can see that you rely a lot on physicality to a degree, and the state of upbringing. I think what you're saying is great. Taking that, I would say maybe he only talks to them from the side, so he will do that because he's hiding his burnt side. An interesting one, and this is also an example of when people do stuff differently, and it is counter to what we expect. I loved it. Critics absolutely hated it. There was a film called Jupiter Ascending. Yeah. I love the film personally, but Eddie Redmayne was playing the villain in that film, and he chose a very raspy, weak kind of voice for his villain. And he actually ended up getting a Raspberry Award for it because they said that was awful. It was bad acting. And he seemed as if he was as disinterested. I thought that it was brilliant. And he was showing that this leader had this weak voice and was so out of it that they didn't really sort of know what was going on. But there's an example of this sort of weak, raspy. You don't agree with me. You think he was awful.
What? No, I was just sorry. I was just listening on.
Okay. All right. No, that's fine.
I actually seen the film.
Oh, you haven't? Okay. Well, if you want just crazy sci-fi entertainment, there you go. Yes. Okay. It is the time. So, creative writing tonight. In the spirit of Halloween or Old Hallows Eve, or I think some of my friends were telling me that Samhain is happening now, which is a changeover and all those kind of wonderful things. It is traditionally seen as the time period where the veil is thin and those things that are evil can come out and haunt us and that kind of stuff. So for a creative writing, if you haven't done this before on the channel, what you do is you're going to take what I ask you to do and you're going to type it into chat, and then we'll go through that very, very quickly, sort of unpacking it and discussing as many of the options as we can. So that's what we're going to do. So we're talking about a superstitious time period here in our real world where the veil is thin and evil things come through. I want you to think about your creative world, or your fantasy world, and what would be the celebrations for when the veil is thin, but good things come through. So here we dress up as monsters and ghouls and all that kind of thing. And don't tell me we dress up as angels. How would we dress up as something that's good and happy and exciting? Because if you dress up as a clown, I think, once again, you've missed the point. Because, I mean, I don't know. Are clowns ever happy? Ever? Really? I mean, happy clowns? I don't know. So what would your festivity be, your festival in your world, for when the veil with good is thin and good could permeate into the world? It's a bit of a tricky one because you don't want to do the cliches, but you want to kind of get it so we go, oh yeah, that's perfect. That's perfect. So you've got about 10 minutes. Write it, drop it into chat. Remember, chat does have a word limit, so it must be concise. Just give us, in a nutshell, people would dress up like unicorns and everyone would run around exchanging gifts. I don't know. On Halloween, it's like, well, why do we run around giving candy? It's trick or treat, and I know there's real commercial reasons behind it all, but what would you do? So that's your creative writing challenge. There, I see the accidental DM asking, what's the topic this evening? For creative writing, celebration of good becoming, sneaking through at, would it be midnight? When would good strike? I don't know. So you think about that. We're going to talk a little bit more about Travis's Kickstarter, the from Dark World Studios. Now, whilst you are doing your creative writing. So let's get some entries in on that one. Okay, so Travis, are there a couple of you doing this Kickstarter together?
Yeah. If you scroll down all the way towards the bottom, you get where our team is. So Ryan Hunter is also my roommate. He is absolutely fantastic. You don't see him much on social media because he is the busiest person I know. Absolutely fantastic. I've lived with him for a few years now. Geez. Then there's myself and Joe Hunter, who is his brother. So we've all known each other for just as long as I've been GMing. Joe actually was my first GM, and then he was the one who stopped GMing, and then I had to do it for the next 8 years. So,
well, thanks, Joe. I think.
Thanks, Joe.
There we
Thank
go.
you.
Yeah.
Absolutely. He's a biologist, so he brings a lot of unique ideas about like how things would evolve, or interesting immune systems of creatures, and like stuff that we can never really write down unless you guys really want a whole um, genetic write-up on some of our eldritch monsters. Ryan is a rocket scientist. I can't really tell you what projects he works on because they're classified, but he has great many ideas about physics and stuff of that nature, and a lot of complaints about our world already. Jen is one of our graphic designers, and also longtime friend and role player of the group, as well as Michelle and Maya. Michelle has been wonderful with developing lore for us, and is just she is studying to be a botanist. So as you can see, the flowers in her hair, she is very passionate about plants. And then we have Maya, who made the map, who is our geologist, and will yell at Joe for hours about how an island can't be Mediterranean in this part of the ocean. And we'll talk about wind patterns and all of that jazz. So yeah, that's our team.
And you are a student of archaeology.
Yeah, I am. My eventual plan is getting my PhD, but it's kind of been janky with online classes due to recent events.
Yes.
But
so an archaeologist, a rocket scientist, a biologist, a botanist, a geologist. Okay, that's a hell of a design team.
Yeah.
In terms of backgrounds, that's brilliant. Absolutely wonderful. I love this hobby of ours because it's like, hey, let's get all of these people together who could literally change the world, and they're going to just make a fantasy one because it's probably easier.
Yeah.
You know, now that's fantastic. So you guys, we've got 36 hours left or so. 36 hours to go. You are funded. You're getting ready for the next step, which is further development of the system and the book and play testing. Is that right?
Yeah.
Okay.
I mean, like, our main goal with like our science that we're bringing to our world is to make everyone feel like it's believable. So when something happens that is out of the ordinary in our world, you notice it more. Like when you are in a fantasy world and there's a waterfall going upwards, you know, that's just regular stuff.
Yeah.
But in our world, when we usually play by the rules, you see a similar thing. I feel like that has more impact, that it's not like it's actually something that could be more ominous behind that waterfall, other than a like going up to heaven or the lawful good world or what have you.
Yes. Okay. That's super cool. Now, how do you guys have a Discord for people who want to follow along with the development? How do people follow along with this whole
well, we do have a Discord. It has a super wonderful community. It is on our, I think there's a link to it on our website at the very bottom.
Right. Yes, I had your website open and then I closed it because I'm an idiot.
You're still fine.
Because I was like, oh look, so Dark World. Wait a minute, it's coming up. So I'll pop that in. There we go. darkworldstudios.net. I will throw that link into chat, and there you are. So and they can read out more there. They can find more information, and they can actually download the free-to-play beta.
Yeah. That's the rule set that you've been scrolling through for everybody. Basically, it has everything you need to start a lower level campaign. It's around 70 pages. It includes our art and, just how to build some basic characters. Well, at least that's what I thought. But the people who've already made characters have made some wacky stuff with I wasn't even prepared for, like with the rule set we've given you guys thus far. So
Absolutely. And that always happens. It's like, here's a book that I've spent my life writing, and people go, yeah, but can you do this, and that? And you go, oh, well, yeah, you could actually, and I probably should have a chapter on that. Okay, back to the drawing board. No, that's absolutely fantastic. That's awesome. Okay, so, right, we've got a few minutes left before the end of the show. We've got some options coming in here, so I'll do my best to do them justice. White Tiger 225 says, as the veil thins, the nets come down. The children... Stop talking, people. I can't read the text. The children chase at petals and leaves blown through the air, capturing them. It is said, if you capture a fairy, these leaves, during this time, good fortune finds you. Fairies can disguise as anything they wish, but they cannot help but move in the flowing wind. It is time celebrated by children and young lovers. I quite like that. Leaves blowing, it's kind of good fortune. Oh, I think that's a pretty good one. Immediately I get images of a plastic packet floating in the wind in that wonderful film American Beauty, where there was beauty in just this packet sort of blowing around. So there we go. I like that one. The Game Philosopher says, I would have people dressing up in nice Italian masks. I would do it like classical Christmas, in which people would do random acts of goodness, such as giving money to the poor and visiting the sick. I would call it something like the Feast of the Good Bringers. Yeah, that's not a bad idea. Not a bad idea. Rose Heartfire says, the Festival of the Hollow Lights. Everyone dresses up in white gowns to celebrate the wispy white spirits, light spirits, that pass through the veil. It is said that chanting to a wisp of light will bring good harvests. Sammy Critfiddle says, the time of the ties. People dress in their favourite clothes of the... Sammy Critfiddle has a great mind. A dark, twisted, great mind. So, people dress in the favourite clothes of their lost loved ones, and at the 10th bell, the spirits of these loved ones are visible through the plain gate. The town takes turns individually speaking through this gate to update the ones on the other side to what has been going on, to ask questions, and just generally to be reminded of the love they have for those that have moved to the spirit realm. Each presents a gift which is sacrificed to keep the gate powered. Well, that went dark, isn't it? So I'm going to put the clothes on the dead. I'd have to wear my grandmother's clothes. Okay, interesting. You've got to love the mind of people. That's
no, it's pretty fantastic. Trevor? Oh, pardon?
So you want to say something?
Oh yeah, no, I was surprised that I didn't see any ancestor worship thus far, and that like popped in, and I was like thinking along the same lines as this person.
Ancestor worship for okay, yes, I can see that working. Right, Xander the Green says, Lance Pickett says, as the veil weakens, we prepare to welcome our loved ones. We dress as butlers, maids, footmen, and like to serve them in death, as they deserved to be in life. Okay, interesting. Again, there's that dead loved one. It's like a time of happiness. Is that? I suppose I like the people in my life that have died, but I don't know if that would be happiness to see them again.
I suppose.
It's like, well, just stay dead. You're dead now. Just stay there. Xander the Green says, in Salvahal, the elven city, the children craft a wooden boat. When all the boats are made, a candle is placed inside each one and set afloat on a lake. A song is sung to summon lost loved ones for the night. Anyway, I like the idea of the little boat. It's a very, very beautiful sort of idea. Jose Ramirez says, elves would dress in blue and robes with robes with silver trinkets in the night of the blue moon on the festival of Enthias, where food is made and shared with tracelers to please the kind spirits for good luck. Okay, I mean, that's a nice idea, to put food out and that sort of thing. And we've got a lot coming through here. So we're almost out of time here. Jeff Williams says, Eve of Stopping Sand. One night a year, time stops. And one night only. The veil breaks and anything you do is reset to the previous day. You can tell your love, your feelings, or what you always wanted to tell them. That's an interesting one. If you had a day where you could do anything and then it would reset. I mean, it's kind of like Groundhog Day.
Yeah. But it's planned Groundhog Day.
It's and you know it's going to finish.
Yeah.
I think that's quite a cool idea. And then just a random last one. Samuel Cohn says, when the veil thins out, people would decorate their houses, add lights, place treats, play music to try to lure in good spirits that would then haunt the house with good luck for the rest of the year. I think that's quite nice. Let's lure them in, give them cakes and things. So there we go. I think that's really cool. I think that's really, really, really cool. Anyway, folks, we've come to the end of our time this week. Travis, thank you so much for joining us and sharing and for your Kickstarter. It's a massive undertaking, and sharing your space with others, I think, is brilliant. Absolutely brilliant.
Thank you so much for having me on your show. It's been pretty fantastic, and I love talking to all of you guys.
There you go. He actually likes you. Right, just a reminder that this is the Kickstarter we're talking about, that number going up steadily. I do like that. There we go, look at that, some more money came in. Fantastic. So yes, if you don't know about the time period, the Art Deco, brutalism, that sort of thing, and if you don't know about Lovecraft, or if you don't know about horror, I mean, it's and George Orwell as well. This is something that you might want to have a look at and get into, because I think it could be very crafty, and those dice are just beautiful. Q Workshop, of course, has been on this channel many times. Q Workshop's dice are super stunning. They really are super cool. So bear that in mind. Really interesting space, really interesting Kickstarter. So check them out. I will share the link with you all once again in chat. And big thank you to everyone who tuned in tonight. Let me get rid of the video so you can see me talking. So big thank you to all of you for watching. And yes, we will be back on Wednesday with the live RPG playthrough. That's from the Shadowborn, I should say, from the Shadowsborn. And that's ramping up. The players are entering a tower filled of giant potential spiders, and there's all kinds of wonderful chaos and craziness going on there. Chat saying thank you, Travis, for spending time with us today and giving us some inspiration. So we really appreciate that. And yes, so until this coming Wednesday, and then next week Saturday, live sessions with the GM. There's a big announcement that's going to be happening, so bear that in mind if you are planning on making that one. So there we go. Until next time, I wish you and yours the very happiest of gaming.